everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are bringing back a series that I attempted to start last year and only ended up getting one video up. This is part of my Sip and Savor series, so where I share some comfy fall soup-like recipes with you guys, or not soup-like, they are soup. Today we are going to be going through my chili recipe, which is a pulled beef chili that is free of beans because I don't love beans. This particular batch that I made and filmed for you guys is a little bit more special than usual because I actually made it with caribou beef instead of cow beef. My dad was able to get a caribou last year. Those licenses are a lot rarer here in Newfoundland and Labrador, at least in Newfoundland. This is the perfect recipe to do when you want to make a bunch of like freezer meals to like freeze and then have ready to just defrost throughout the fall, throughout the winter. So yeah, I figured I would take you guys through the recipe, and of course you can always look at it down in the description. So you can take screenshots or print it off, whatever you prefer. But yeah, this is my take on pulled beef or pulled caribou chili. And yeah, if you try it, I hope you enjoy it. Alright, apparently my battery's flashing, of course. So we're gonna go through the ingredients really quick for how to do the pulled beef. So to make the actual pulled beef, this is like the first step before I make the actual chili. So you're gonna need a couple of beef roasts of your choice, salt and pepper, taco seasoning, chili powder, cumin, olive oil, yellow onions, roughly chopped, garlic. I usually buy pre-minced garlic, but you can chop up some fresh garlic if you prefer, cilantro, lime juice, some water. First, you're going to remove the excess moisture from the beef roasts. Just pat them dry with paper towels because we're going to sear them first. In this prep video, or the footage that you're seeing right now, I did not do that because caribou, the roasts were a lot smaller and caribou dries out a lot more. It doesn't have a lot of fat content. But if you're using a regular beef roast, you definitely want to sear it off first. So you're going to season all sides of those roasts with salt, the pepper, taco seasoning, chili powder, and cumin. And in a pan or a pot on medium-high heat, you're going to sear all sides of the beef roast until you get some color on them. They should look kind of more crispy, almost not burnt, but like you should be able to see that crust appearing. That is flavor. That's what you want. Then you're going to transfer your roast to a slow cooker. You could also do this like on the stove on low if you want. I just prefer to do this step with a slow cooker. And then deglaze the pan that you seared them in with some water or even some wine if you want. And then add whatever that liquid is to your slow cooker. Then you're going to add your chopped onions. Make sure they're nice big chunks so that they're easier to take out and remove after. Then you're going to add some garlic and thyme. And then you're going to add water to the slow cooker if you need it. The majority of the beef should be submerged in water. You definitely want as much liquid in there as possible to keep it from drying out. And then you can add some more salt, pepper, or any other spices if you want. I added some cilantro and lime juice to the liquid as well. Then I cooked this on high for 6 hours. I find with my slow cooker, personally, I find it works better if I do it on high instead of low. Cooked for 6 hours, and that was when the beef was easily falling apart with gravity. So if you poke it with a fork, hold it up, and it starts to like stretch apart and fall apart, that's when you know it's done. Then you're gonna take that out, shred it with some forks or a mixer, whatever method you want. You're gonna set it aside, and then you're gonna strain your liquid. That is liquid gold, that is the flavor. Definitely want to like run that through a metal sieve or a strainer, and then reserve that liquid and set it aside for the chili. So that's the first step. I usually do that the day before. And now we're gonna get into how I make the actual chili. So you're gonna need some olive oil, yellow onion finely chopped, mushrooms sliced, or you can chop them too. I just like to slice mine. Garlic, finely chopped carrots, some butter, tomato paste, fresh tomatoes chopped. I like to use a mixture of fresh and canned. Red wine, 2 cans of San Marzano tomatoes. They're the ones that I like to buy. I get them in big packs at Costco. Remove the tops and puree them in the food processor or blender. Salt and pepper, taco seasoning, Italian seasoning, chili powder, cumin, the pulled beef, which we just made, and the liquid from the pulled beef, or your beef broth. If for some reason your beef didn't result in a lot of like liquid, make sure you have some other beef broth on hand. And something I add occasionally, but not every time, is bell pepper. So sometimes I will add some finely chopped bell pepper too. So first you're gonna get all your veggies chopped. So your onions, carrots, bell pepper, mushrooms, and get your tomatoes pureed and chop your fresh tomatoes. Then in your large pot or Dutch oven, you're gonna put it on medium or high heat, and you're gonna saute the onions first on their own for roughly 3 minutes. Then you're gonna add in your carrots, mix them, cook and cover for another like 2 minutes or so. Then you're gonna add your mushrooms and butter, mix those in, let it cook covered for 2 minutes. Then you're gonna add your tomato paste and garlic, mix and let it cook in for about a minute. You're gonna notice the smell and the look of it starts to change. Then you're gonna add your red wine to deglaze the pan. Cook until the alcohol has evaporated and cooked off. It's gonna smell a little different, and it's gonna be obviously less liquid in the pan. That takes around 2 or 3 minutes for me. Then you're gonna add some salt, pepper, your taco seasoning, chili powder, and cumin. Mix all that in. Then you're gonna add in your tomatoes, mix all that in. Then you're gonna add your shredded beef and the reserved liquid or your beef broth or both, and you're gonna reduce to a simmer and cook for around 30 minutes. I like to leave mine covered, but just a little crack to let steam out. Once that's been simmering and cooking slow and low for about 30 minutes, then you're gonna wanna give it a taste. If the tomatoey part is too acidic, then you can add like a pinch of sugar or a little bit more tomato paste. To this batch, I ended up adding about a teaspoon of white granulated sugar, and then of course add more salt and pepper as you need it. Then the next step, I let it cool a little bit, and then it's time to start switching it to whatever you're going to freeze it in. So you could leave some of this in the fridge for a couple of days if you're gonna eat it like within the next few days. The way I like to do it is I buy the medium-sized freezer-safe Ziploc bags, and I double them up. So I put a portion in the Ziploc bag using one of those like bag holder devices from Amazon. I'll leave it linked down below. That's super helpful. And I gently let the air out, close it tight, and then I put another bag around it, write what it is. For example, on this batch, I wrote that it was caribou, and then you're gonna lay them in the freezer flat. I have a shelf in my freezer, so if you can, just try and get creative. That way it freezes in like a thin rectangle, and it makes it easier to like store more of them if you don't have a lot of freezer space. If you have lots of freezer space, happy for you. I do not, so I like to freeze mine flat, and that way they freeze flat and I can stack them up in the top of my freezer and I can store more. So when you are ready to eat it, I have a couple of different topping options that I go with. A lot of people tend to eat chili with rice. I personally like to do it with either bread or tortilla chips. So you could get those tortilla salad toppers and sprinkle those on top as like garnish. But I like to eat it with like the Scoops, the Tostito Scoops chips, and I'll actually like eat my chili as a dip. And I'll stir in like a little bit of sour cream, and I'll top it with some cilantro because I love cilantro personally. I don't think it tastes like soap. So yeah, that is my chili recipe. I've been making that now for a couple of years. I've done it with beef, I've done it with moose, I've done it with caribou. The options are endless. And as you can probably tell by the measurements for the seasonings, I like to keep my chili on the more mild side. I don't like it super spicy, but I still add like the chili powder, the cumin, the taco seasoning I find really helps make it a more mild flavor. But yeah, I think it's delicious, so I hope you think so too. If you give it a try, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you soon with my next video. Bye!